All right, we are live. Hi, this is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind. And for the since last Wednesday, we've been talking about, we had a workshop, the Answers Accelerator, and then a lot of you were asking questions that had to do with intuition. There were a lot of questions in the comment section. And although I know some of you have an idea of what intuition is, you really kind of found it surprising as I've been going through the bonus teachings, because you were like, oh, wow, I use that all the time. And I did not know that was intuitive. You just think it's just a natural part of who you are. We haven't had much of an opportunity to bring students on because there's been a kind of a shift in technology. So we're having to adapt to that. But I'm so excited that Angie Wolle was able to join us today. Now, Angie started Psychic Mastery 1 last April in 2023. And then when our Psychic Mastery 2 program opened up, she immediately wanted to make that leap. And so she's currently in the Psychic Mastery 2 program. But Angie, if you could tell us just a little bit about you, and I'm sure that you've had many other trainings long before you came into Psychic Mastery 1, and then what made you decide to take that leap, and what have you enjoyed about it?
Yeah, so I've always been on the path of spiritual seeking, and in fact, made a full profession of it as a clergy person. Uh,
Okay.
so um, so the notion of being able to connect to one's spirit directly and how that fits, and accessing the inner knowledge, the inner teacher, however you
Mm.
describe that. I'm always looking for better practices to make that more accessible. And so I initially started listening to you, Nancy, on different YouTube recordings, and just kind of was drawn in. And when I heard more about the Psychic Mastery, probably similar to the Accelerator program, just felt like, yeah, I'd be silly not to learn more practices and ways to better trust my intuition, to better access spirit, um, and to actually just get some language and context, to be able to articulate it a little better for myself
Yeah.
and to others.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what did you so your reasoning for going into it is that you really it sounds like you wanted to develop a little bit more a knowledge base on intuition, and a little bit more intuitive accuracy, and the language around it to better explain it to your clients. And then what did you discover when you joined?
Oh, I really appreciated the self-paced modules were terrific. Just kind of the taking me by the hand and leading me with all the exercises and meditations. Super easy to do at my own pace. And you can always pause and go back if you don't understand it. You can skip around. So I really appreciated that. And then in the experience, there were the conference calls, which allowed connection with the other folks in PM1, an opportunity to ask questions. And for me, the Mentoring Monday was also just this delightful bonus, a buffet of learning, a buffet of seeing it put into practice, watching and learning from other people who've been on the journey a little longer, and watching them dive in and do it, and being very, very real and very safe. And the space for judgment-free questions.
Yeah.
Anything could go when you have the Ask Me Anything. Boy, your breadth and depth just allow for any kind of question. So it's both fun to see how you'll answer them, and also I always learn something in any of those sessions. It's really fun, and it's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. So you didn't find it intimidating right off the bat?
Not at
with the
all.
Mentoring
Not
Monday.
well, maybe
Sometimes I think
maybe
when
my
we have
very
new,
first
because
one,
we have a
but
lot of new
no.
students that will be coming in, and sometimes, uh, so just to explain a little bit more for the rest of you. So Mentoring Monday is the only part of the month where all three groups, all three student levels. So we have Psychic Mastery 1, Psychic Mastery 2, Psychic Mastery 3, and all three levels they come together. And then for those who are towards the end of Psychic Mastery 2, they can practice doing readings in front of other people. Uh, they don't have to. And then in Psychic Mastery 3, we have many, many professional readers in that level, but they always are wanting to hone their skills. So I will give them an assignment or a focus, or sometimes they'll just kind of freelance do intuitive readings. And so if you volunteer and your name gets drawn, then you do get to ask a question of the psychics. And then there's usually two of them, and they'll tune in and they'll give information. And we never know, like, it is totally spirit led, isn't it, Angie? We never know what direction spirit's going to take us. And that means I can't manage it very tightly. But it really, my sense about it is like, because there's always so many people on the call, and you all can relate to what's being talked about in your own life.
Mhm.
Yeah. So do you have an example of, I know I didn't ask you this before, but something that stood out for you, that you were listening, you're on the call, you're taking it in, you're like, wow, I never realized that before, or it helped you to shift a big piece when you were part of the Mentoring Monday?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm always like, pick me, I want to be read. It doesn't always happen, like not hardly, but um, but it is. But in terms of that, I think one of the wonderful things about this is it's a concept that you learn in Psychic Mastery too. But this sense of matching pictures, and what that really means is that you have something in common. Either there's something for you to pick up on, because no matter who gets picked, there's something in there for you. And
Yeah.
so to enter into that time with kind of a tuned ear to what is the message for me, so you can't not get anything out of it. I
Right.
mean, I guess you could if you
Yeah.
totally slept, but the spirit's at work. So
Yeah.
in that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to explain to everyone in this Psychic Mastery 1, I just want to let you know my intention. So in Psychic Mastery 1, it's all about you getting to know you from a spiritual perspective. And it's all about you getting in the driver's seat of your life. It's all about you starting to trust your own intuitive instincts, the information that's coming through, about connecting with your spirit. So it's all about your relationship with your spirit. That is what Psychic Mastery 1 is about. When you join and you come into the Mentoring Monday call, often, I mean, you're sitting there in the background and you're like, um, it's help. It teaches you a little bit more about how spirit works in all of our lives, however you want to name that. Then in Psychic Mastery 2, where Angie transferred over in January, she starts to learn how to not only manage her energy field, her relationship with her soul, but in the context of working with another person. So they learn you're learning how to do psychic intuitive readings for the purpose of self-healing. And that can be a big concept to understand, that when Angie is now doing readings, now she's in June, she's doing readings with her fellow students, but I asked the students to look at what's it reflecting back to them about what they want to be learning about themselves. Then by the time you get to Psychic Mastery 3, and all of them are year-long programs, you are learning to manage yourself in relationship to yourself and relationship to another person, but even more than that, in relationship to the earth that we live on at a global level. And in that Psychic Mastery 3, that's where you'll learn more about astral travel, about what's going on in different countries of the world, and how we are all one and we're connected. So it's like we want you to get really solid in the first level, and then you get solid, you're taking the training wheels off, but you're working with another person, and then you're working in a larger group in Psychic Mastery 3. So so we have the conference calls, and that's where I will introduce a little lesson that usually I pull from the Psychic Mastery 1 program. And then sometimes we'll have you go out into breakout rooms, and it's on a Zoom call. It's not on Facebook, it's on a Zoom call. So tell me about those breakout rooms. Even if I just want anyone who's listening in, even if you don't know how to work with the breakout room, we do teach you to do that. But what was it about the breakout rooms that you really enjoyed, Angie?
Oh, what's really great about it is that this is the other piece, is you're part of a community. You're part of connecting to others who are on a similar kind of path. They've come in through a different door, so that's always interesting what door they come into, but you're in the same room, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. But then in the breakout rooms, that's a chance, and you get to meet people from all over the world, I love that, and hear a little bit about their journey. And it both validates some of your own questions or your own experiences, or stretches you or informs you in a new way. And so you do actually get a more personal connection with other people in the class, which I like.
Yeah. And, I've said this on some other calls this week, that if you choose, you can be a part of a smaller group that becomes your group. And in Psychic Mastery 1, that group stays the same. And Kathy helps, depending on what time zone you're in, to kind of group you. In Psychic Mastery 2, you all shift your groups every 3 months. So once a quarter, you'll shift their groups. How do you feel that your intuition? So clearly you moved to Psychic Mastery 2. So you must have felt in Psychic Mastery 1 that your intuition was getting better.
Yeah, I think it definitely built confidence. And I think you often talk about the precision and the journey of kind of drilling a little more deeply. And the beauty, of course, of the spirit is you're right where you need to be whenever you need to be there. So it's not about willing yourself there, but just trusting that you're learning at the pace you need to be learning, and you'll experience what you need to experience when you need to experience it. So I would say, in addition to these amazing techniques, just that are very simple and powerful, getting more and more mastery over it, where it just becomes like breathing.
Yeah.
I have, I'm up to, not to scare you all, but it's like, Nancy always talks about, it's like eating Lay's potato chips. Like the more you get, the more you want to do. And so, I'm up to like 2 hours of meditating, some days 3. I'm at a place where I can carve out that time. It's not, not everybody has that. And like a marathon, you kind of build up to it. But you don't jump in with that. But it kind of woos you in. For me, it wooed me in to go a little more deeper. It is different for every person, but
yeah, definitely. Right. Because, often, we're really encouraging. I always say I'm doing the guided meditations. So, even if you can spend 10 to 15 minutes, a day, especially in the beginning. But it sounds like you've had you've been doing this a long time. So I'm really curious. So have you always, if you're part of the clergy and you work with people at that spiritual level, were you always like that? Like as a child, did you have a high interest in that? Or did you work in the corporate world? Like sometimes people do that and then they have an experience. Tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, in terms of the spiritual hunger, that's always been part of my journey,
Mm.
and I have worked in Fortune 500 companies. I've worked in a corporate setting, worked in healthcare as an executive. I've also led small churches. I've also led faith-based startups, 501c3s. And so, but always with the intention of how do you help people connect to their spirit and go
Right.
deeper? And whether that's in a corporate setting, and gosh, now I think, oh, I wish I knew more of the energetic approaches. It would have helped a lot, in addition to the practices. But so for me, it is how do you access your spirit no matter where you are, bridging that. Bridging those two areas. And so for me, it's always been having one foot kind of in the spirit world and one foot in reality. I
Yeah,
mean, not that it's not reality, but in
exactly.
the
Which one's reality?
it is reality, right? But I
But
mean, one foot.
I know everybody gets what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, they're both reality very much so. And so
Yeah.
cultivating, to have an active prayer and meditation life, I had already cultivated that for a while. So it was really
Yeah.
building on that to
Yeah.
take it to the
Yeah.
next level. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that's really important for me, what I always, um, like I was recently giving a talk and I was teaching for 4 weeks. I was kind of going in and teaching meditation class. But I said, I really have to address the elephant in the room before we even get started. This is not a religion. It's not a religion. It's not against religion. It's not pro religion. It's not anything. It's all about however you want to express spiritually. I say this is a way of life. You are cultivating a way of life where you're not just kind of bumbling along and being absent or not conscious of what's going on around you, like maybe how you're affecting other people or how other people are affecting you. It is about you getting to know you on a deeper level. So tell me a little bit more about how did you um, find that balance with your own faith, being a clergy person and then doing a psychic mastery intuition class.
Yeah. It is kind of fun as I share with some of my former colleagues. But I can't say enough. Just like as we develop as humans, we look at our emotional strength, we look at our physical strength, we look at our spiritual strength, and I would also say then this access to our energetic field. Um, so, as yet another amazing aspect of how we've been created, and for me, it is all about we all. I mean, everyone will map it into their construct however they need to. For me, it's all about love, connecting to the divine, um, listening, and their words fall short. A million people have a zillion different ways of talking, like inner teacher, true self, higher self, soul, spirit. So
Divine. Yeah.
divine. I mean, the language. Try not to let the language get in the way and listen to what your heart says is true. And I think that's the biggest thing because you'll
Yeah.
know. You'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to, before we start to wrap up, we've got about 10 more minutes, but I'm often, no, I'll just speak from my own experience. So when I started taking these classes, well, first of all, I was a mess. My life was just falling apart on so many levels. I just emotionally I could no longer manage the enormity of the stress that was going on in my life. But when I started to take, I wanted to start meditating. I wanted to do it to help me to be a better person so I could help other people. So that's the bottom line. I was a nurse. I wanted to be in service. But what I realized when I got into it was like, holy smokes, I'm healing myself. And I did not realize how much how much I was being healed. And then that's when I realized, oh, I'm doing this for me, and it's helping me to be a better person. And in that, it might help others around me, like my family that I care about, feel better as well. So, what I know intuitively and spiritually, but what have you noticed as you have done a deep dive, which you definitely have if you're in psychic mastery too? What have you noticed that's happened in your personal life?
Yeah. Be careful what you ask for. Change happens. So, and it's good. I would say it definitely. I mean, just the name of this class of the accelerator. So that's not for naught. But I would say a lot of stuff kind of blew up in a good way,
Okay.
exposed what needed to happen, and Nancy's absolutely right. I think the deepest for me, it's been about the deeper healing, which is also what I was longing for. I would say for me, just a couple of other things. Dealing with mental energy, huge. Uh, Yvonne, who is amazing, who supports us and this journey in many ways, basically told me I had a football helmet of mental energy. And if anybody does Enneagram, I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, so I'm all in my head. And so to free that is huge. And so we all have our different ways
We
of
all have our different
connecting with
motivations.
spirit. So that has been a huge shift for me. And then, yeah, it just feels like a clearing and a cleansing. I'll share one other thing that's been super helpful for those of you considering Psychic Mastery One, but it shows up in my work. I coach and do consultation, but I coach folks who are in burnout in healthcare, who are trying to figure out whether they're going to love or leave their job, where they are. But this helps me help them, because it's, as Nancy said, I've had my own healing, and it also allows for some greater, just powerful healing, um, accessibility in ways beyond. So,
Mm. Mm.
yeah, it ripples out.
It does ripple out. And I remember those aha moments, even for me, or even still today. It's just like you're following the breadcrumbs of spirit, and you don't even know where it's leading you. And then all of a sudden, it's like the penny drops, and you realize, oh, this is why this had to happen like this. And it's such a fun way to live. If I can put it from that perspective, as a hospice nurse, often I would have my patients who are in various stages of the dying process, and they're like, come on, Nancy, you don't really believe there's a heaven, do you? Or you don't really believe in angels? Come on, there's nothing there. And I just said, look, if I've got the choice to think I'm going to end up in a black hole, or I'm going to be held in the arms of angels singing, I get to choose. I'm going to choose the angels. Thank you very much. But it's kind of the same with, it's like you don't really believe in intuition, do you? Or you don't believe in magic, or you don't believe in mysticism, or you don't believe in psychic precision. But I don't know about you, but it's like life is a lot more fun
Yeah,
when I can be a little more open to the spiritual possibility, the possibility that spirit is working in my life in the background.
absolutely. It's almost like you've just been given water wings. I mean, life is still going to happen. I mean, it doesn't magically stop stuff happening.
Yeah.
But what you do have are the water wings and maybe new eyes to see things and new contexts and new lenses. And you're going to notice things that you wouldn't notice along the way.
Yeah.
If you're swept in a river, you still have the water wings, but you're like noticing, hey, there's a salmon right behind me,
Yeah.
instead of just, oh. So, yeah, it's a portal to more freedom, and just a way of, I don't know, drinking in fresh what's already around us.
Exactly. 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 So is there anything else that you would like to share with our group that is on? We have almost 50 people on listening, so we'll have many more listening later. So is there anything
Yeah.
else you'd like to share with, um, yeah, anything?
Yeah. I think in discerning whether to do this or not, make sure you ask the question, why wouldn't I?
Mm.
Why wouldn't I do this? If and Again, it's laid out. It's super easy to do. It's credible. Um, you won't be doing it alone. You can do it as slow or as fast as you want. But if someone's giving you this opportunity to go, hey, I want to do something a little differently, and it's going to feel good, and I'm going to get healed, and oh my gosh, my life may open up through this. Why wouldn't you?
Why
So.
would you? I could not have said that better. I couldn't have said it better. So thank you so much, Angie. I'm going to ask you to stay on with me as I just wrap it up. And thank you all so much for hopping on. We've got, wow, just many of you are tuning in from all over the world. And what I'm seeing the most, Angie, I know you can't see the comments, but many, many are giving you a huge warm welcome, and they've really enjoyed this interview. And yeah, so I so appreciate you coming on. All right, everyone, thanks for popping in again with me today. And remember, I will see you tomorrow morning, morning my time, when I talk about clear knowing. So thanks again so much for being here. Bye-bye.